DSK Origins is a brand new series of mine that goes over all the past origin stories in the DSK universe. Episode 1 takes place during the time skip after the Rift arc and before the Sheep Gang arc. Sans and his brother Papyrus have just recently arrived in the DSK universe for the first time. Sans enters the meadery while the Sheep Killer is ordering a steak, and asks for the usual despite this being his first time there. And naturally, the Sheep Killer and Shaggy are just confused. Seeing this, Sans just asks for a burger, which apparently only costs $1. Sans jokingly states that he can't afford that because he only has $2. The Sheep Killer gets ready to leave. Then Sans tells him to stop by his sentry station later. The Sheep Killer refuses, but says that he'll see him later anyway, then leaves, only to see that Sans is now directly in front of him with his sentry station. He tries to leave immediately, which Sans believes is because he's off to have lunch with a friend, but the Sheep Killer says that he was just gonna eat alone at home. Sans then correctly assumes that he doesn't have many friends, and says that won't change if he always turns people away like this. The Sheep Killer then realizes that Sans is new there, and assumes that he wants friends. Sans then starts messing with him, acting like the Sheep Killer really wants to be his friend. Then he gives him a paper with a phone number on it, which the Sheep Killer correctly assumes is fake. After the Sheep Killer also doesn't want a hot dog or a hot cat, he gets ready to leave again, until Sans asks him if there's anywhere to eat, despite having just left the meadery. Then he brings up his brother Papyrus, and finally gives the Sheep Killer his name.
Hey, my name's Sans, by the way.
Sans Undertale?
No, Sans the Skeleton.
Then Sans asks if there's a place for him and his brother to stay. Sheep Killer is confused by this, assuming that they would have figured that out before moving away, but Sans reveals that they didn't come here by choice. So, if Sans and Papyrus are from another universe entirely, then where did they come from, and how did they get there? Well, obviously they're from the Undertale universe, but Undertale has multiple endings, so which one did they come from? Well, definitely not genocide because they're dead there, and it also can't be any of the neutral endings where Papyrus is killed. It also can't be pacifist or any of the endings where Toriel is spared, because Sans seems to have no interest in going back, even though he's had multiple opportunities to do so as of the most recent episodes of the DSK series. So that means it's a neutral ending, one where Papyrus lives and Toriel dies. So now you have an idea of where they came from, but how did they get there? Well, this is actually revealed in later episodes. A strange anomaly was sending many different characters from other realities to the DSK universe, Sans and Papyrus being among them. That anomaly was none other than Zephyr, the king of the End Dimension who gained the power to warp reality after slaying many deities who lived there. None of the characters who were sent to the DSK universe went there willingly, but some decided to stay there, even after Zephyr was killed off for good by the Sheep Killer and his friends. Now that that's all explained, back to the actual plot of the episode. The Sheep Killer challenges Sans to a fight. Sans then sees that the Sheep Killer tends to be violent sometimes, and assumes that could be a reason why he doesn't have many friends. But then he says that he couldn't know for sure because he's just a skeleton. The Sheep Killer denies this though, saying that he's more than just an ordinary skeleton, and that's why he wants to fight him. Then he tells Sans that he'll build a house for him and his brother if he does well. Hearing that, Sans accepts his challenge, and says that Papyrus wants him to move around more anyway. As the Sheep Killer gets ready to fight, he's suddenly teleported above a ravine and then falls down. But can't the Sheep Killer fly? Yes. Sans just used the blue soul mode on him here. Then Sans meets him at the bottom of the ravine, asking him how the fall was. This only confirms the Sheep Killer's suspicions about Sans, and he says that he won't fall for that trick again, but Sans wasn't planning on using the same trick twice anyway. Then the Sheep Killer throws the first punch, but Sans easily dodges it, saying that he won't just stand there and take it. In response, the Sheep Killer transforms into his ultra-charged form to increase his speed, but no matter what he tries, he still can't land a hit. Sans mocks him, saying that he couldn't tell if the Sheep Killer was really going faster. Now enraged, the Sheep Killer fires a full power energy blast at Sans, but he easily dodges that too, and says that was even easier to dodge. Then Sans launches an attack of his own, firing a Gaster Blaster and a bone at the Sheep Killer, before the scene transitions to an Undertale-like dodging scene. Now the Sheep Killer has a white upside-down soul instead of the red soul seen in Undertale Deltarune. This is obviously because the Sheep Killer isn't a human. If he were from the Undertale universe, he'd be a monster, or maybe even a boss monster. So I made his soul look like the boss monster soul seen in Undertale. Now back to the fight. Sans attacks the Sheep Killer with many more bones and Gaster Blasters, but Sheep Killer is able to avoid them all. How does he already know how to deal with the orange and blue attacks? I don't know, guess he was just thinking about blue stop signs. Then Sans tells the Sheep Killer that he's better at dodging than attacking, and the Sheep Killer says the same thing back to him. Then the Sheep Killer says that he's still holding back, which Sans assumes means there's another transformation. However, the Sheep Killer says that he's used a higher form before, but he can't access it right now. Sans asks why, but the Sheep Killer doesn't know why, saying that he's tried tapping into it, but he just can't. Then Sans asks if he needs a calm or focused mind to use the form, and the Sheep Killer says that he does, and claims that he's tried that too, but nothing that he's tried has worked. Then Sans says he's able to tell from his conversations and his fight with the Sheep Killer, as well as by even just looking at him, that the Sheep Killer is quite violent, and has killed plenty, to which the Sheep Killer agrees, saying that it's only natural given his name. Sans then says that the Sheep Killer likely can't transform because his body remembers his genocides. The Sheep Killer is confused, so then Sans says that he wasn't being literal, and that if the Sheep Killer can't figure out what that means, then he'll never regain that form. Then he decides to call off the fight until the Sheep Killer reaches his full potential. In response, Shipkyor fires another blast at him. Sans then starts to question if the Shipkyor learned anything at all from this, but Shipkyor said that he has. From this conversation, he realized that in all of his previous battles, he only thought about beating up or killing his opponent. He also learned that in this particular battle, he was simply trying to see what him and his opponent were made of, and that if he focuses on those things instead of just victory, his mind should be more clear. He powers up with this in mind, but still fails to transform. This leaves him disappointed, but Sans tells him that no one's going to get it on their first try, and that he's at least a lot closer now. The Shipkyor now sees that he was holding himself back all along with how he was thinking and fighting, but then questions how he ever got that form in the first place. Sans doesn't know, but assumes that if the Shipkyor figures that out, he'll be even closer to using that form again. So, what is this mysterious form anyway? Well, it's Ultra Instinct's sign, a form that he used briefly in the Rift arc. During this battle, the deity Rift and the Shipkyor's alternate future counterpart Shipku Black, who were both villains at the time, had fused together to become Black Rift, and they'd already killed several of the Shipkyor's friends and threatened to wipe out the entire city. As the Shipkyor and his few remaining friends were on the brink of destruction, the Shipkyor tapped into this form and quickly turned the tide of the battle by effortlessly overpowering his foes, forcing them to retreat to another dimension. Then he dropped out of the form, and was unable to use the form again for a while. Back to the episode again, the Shipkyor points out that despite not actually knowing anything, he sure seems to guess a lot of things correctly. Sans then guesses that he's just good at guessing. Then he makes yet another guess, saying that there's a lot more to the Shipkyor than meets the eye, or that the Shipkyor even knows himself. The Shipkyor asks what that means, but Sans says that there's no way he could know if the Shipkyor doesn't. Then changing the subject, the Shipkyor mentions that his brother is also a skeleton. Sans asks how that works, but the Shipkyor doesn't actually know. So, what's up with the Shipkyor? How is there more to him than meets the eye? And what exactly makes Scully, a skeleton, his brother? Well, this has been revealed in the DSK series as well. During episode 100, the Demon King Malice arrives in the Meme Plaza. There it's revealed that the Shipkyor and Scully are actually demons created by Malice. Back when they were first sent to Earth from the Demon Realm in order to conquer it, they eventually grew attached to the world and its people, minus the sheep in the Shipkyor's case, and decided to make a wish on their world's wish orbs to forget about their life as demons, also that they could live peaceful lives without having to think about the mission that they abandoned. And despite forgetting that they were demons, they still remembered that they were brothers. During this episode 100, they did regain these memories, but this DSK Origins episode takes place years before that. Speaking of, let's get back to the episode again. Sans then says the Shipkyor should introduce his brother sometime, then he says he's gonna head back to his house. The Shipkyor points out that Sans had previously said he didn't have a place to stay, but Sans messes with him again, saying that he never said that, then he leaves. The Shipkyor then realizes he doesn't know how to get home, and is a bit mad that Sans' shenanigans kept getting to him, but admits that Sans is actually a good person deep down. Then Sans returns, mentioning that his brother has a very special attack. The Shipkyor then tries to get back at him for all the times Sans messed with him, acting like he doesn't remember who Sans is. Sans ignores that and instead asks if there's anyone else he could be friends with. The Shipkyor continues trying to get back at Sans, saying that he could be friends with his mom. Sans then tries to make another joke, saying that he already befriended the Shipkyor's mom last night, but the Shipkyor interrupts him, saying that he doesn't actually have a mom, before flying off, feeling that he managed to finally get back at Sans. Instead, Sans just chuckles a little, and the episode ends. And yes, the Shipkyor doesn't have a mother. Because of how he was created, and the fact that Malice has never had a significant other, Shipkyor's only family is his father and 2 brothers. So, what was the deal with Sans here anyway? Well, in Undertale he seemed to be good at reading people, so it's possible that he saw Shipkyor's potential to be a better fighter from the very beginning, and did all this in order to make sure he lives up to that. So that was episode 1 of DSK Origins Explained. And by the way, these episodes don't tell the stories in chronological order, so a future episode of the series will be the story of Shipkyor's creation and his early years on Earth, despite the fact that that story takes place several years before this episode. But once the series is farther along, if you'd like to watch them in chronological order, the playlist will be sorted by when they take place, not by episode number. So what do you think of this story explained video? And would you like to see more videos like it? Let me know in the comments below. I do hope that I didn't somehow leave you with more questions than answers, but if you do have any questions, let me know and I'll be sure to answer them. Anyway, that's it for now, and I'll see you all in the next video. While you wait for it, there should be a video on screen that YouTube thinks you'll like.